Meanwhile, for the Wizards, when you think of Chicago and you think of Michael Jordan and you think of that Bulls team, you think of really only one coach for that Bulls team, and that would be Phil Jackson. From the time he took over, Jackson found a way to not only energize Michael, but to challenge Jordan. He has 9 NBA titles and 9 finals appearances as a head coach, and those two together formed quite a team. Phil Jackson joins us live from Los Angeles, where the Lakers are preparing to take on the Nets in the second game of our doubleheader. Coach Jackson, thanks a lot for joining us.
Pleasure to be here, Kevin.
Hey, right off the bat, got to ask you your thoughts on Michael so far tonight.
Well, this isn't a great game for him, but, Greg Anthony can attest, if you're a left-hander like Jalen Rose is, you've got a real good shot at that right-hander when he's bringing the ball up. And that's one of the things Jalen could do with Michael. He faced him a couple times in some tough Indiana Pacers playoffs. And, Jalen's right there stripping him when he's coming up with the ball. And that's a tough one to get over. And, Michael's going to have to find a way. And they've had a couple of head-on-head battles over the years. So this is a really great matchup people are watching. And you don't see a Michael that can break him down on the outside with his speed now, but has to use pivots, back him in a little bit, use his post-up moves. And, he's not getting the clear shots that he wants to get. And I'd like to see him come back the second half and have a good performance.
All right, so you'd like to see Michael come back in the second half. What about next year? Is Michael really retiring? Do we all really believe that this is it? This is the end?
I have to take him for his word. If he says this is going to be the last go-around, I think it really is going to be that. And, he wanted to come back and finish a year. And last year, really basically from the time he played the Lakers here, in the first game after the All-Star break, he had about 3 or 4 more games in which he played pretty well, and then his knee was just tough on him, and he couldn't finish, and he wants to finish a full season. He got himself in great shape this year, and he wants to do that for the club, and he's an owner in this organization. He's really the motivator in this Wizards group, and they've come a long way. They're now a competitive, good basketball team. They were really not there about 2 years ago before Michael got really invested in this ball club.
Coach Jackson, Greg Anthony, how you doing?
Hey, Greg.
Listen, actually, you're right. The Wizards have a better record than the Lakers do right now, so that's saying make no.
Rub it in.
No, but in all seriousness, thinking back to your first championship, if you can remember back that far after having won 9, what do you think you learned from Michael Jordan as a player that you utilize in your coaching philosophy to this day?
Well, the key about Michael is that he had his opportunities early in his career. With the first 4 or 5 years he's in the league to shoot 35, 45 times, score 40, 50 points in a basketball game, and found that no matter how great he played, there are a lot of nights he couldn't overcome another team. It was a team game, and the supporting act had to come from 5 guys. And he had to share the ball, and he had to find a way to incorporate his great individual game in a team game. And even into the last game of that championship, the first one that we've got against the Lakers at the Forum, I had to encourage Michael, penetrate, pitch to Paxson. He's going to be wide open. All they're concerned about is that Jordan's going to try and score. He's going to want to win the championship so bad. He's going to try and do everything, show them that you can pass the ball and move it ahead. I think Paxson had 7 jump shots off Jordan passes, off just middle penetration and easy dishes. And that's what Michael, really learned, is how to play in a system and provide the leadership for a ball club, not only through his scoring and his intense drive, but also through his distributorship of the ball.
In many ways, you and Michael so similar. Do you miss the connection with him?
A lot. In fact, I've solicited his help, here with the Lakers. The first year I was here, he was out of basketball. Just having him come in and talk to Kobe a little bit about playing the guard position in this triangle offense, and how it can be frustrating because it can be a lot about spacing, and there's not a lot of room for individual showmanship or room or scoring, and just allowing the game to kind of be played at a level where it's more passing and movement than dribble and scoring. And Michael just has a great feel for basketball, great feel for fundamentals of basketball.
And because of that, Coach, do you ever think there's a chance that no matter what the venture of you and Michael reuniting at some point?
I don't know how we do it. I mean, Doug's a great coach for him to just re-establish the kind of direction and energy and tension that a team has to get back in a winning form, and Washington's kind of got that back, and Doug's a good drive kind of guy. He puts a lot of intensity into it. I don't see myself coming back and dealing with Michael as a in a coach-ownership relationship.
All right, Phil, enough about Michael Jordan and the Bulls. Let's talk about you and the Lakers right now. Now, this past summer, I'm sure as you do each offseason, you evaluate your talent and try to determine whether or not you have enough horses to go out and try and win a championship. This past offseason, did you feel coming into the season you had what you needed to win a championship this year?
Well, we knew we were going to be playing at a third-year deficit, almost a season of playoff games under your belt when you play all those playoff games in 3 full seasons of playoffs. We knew that we were going to be worn and torn by that also, but the biggest key was health and well-being of our players. If we physically get them back on the court, obviously the first couple months, the youth and energy of young players on the court will kind of burn up, and by January and February, the experience and leadership of veteran players are going to win, and that's what we thought we could do. And we're a little bit late on the draw right now, but we're starting to return to form.
That's great. Hey, one more question. You coached Michael Jordan, the greatest player of that era, in his prime, won all those championships. Now you're coaching Shaquille O'Neal, and no disrespect to Kobe Bryant, but he's the most dominant player of this era. If you had to start a team today and pick one, who do you take, Shaq or MJ?
I think you pick a center. I think any general manager would pick a center, but I would pick Michael Jordan because I know the relationship with him. But you talk to any general manager, what are you going to start your team from? You're going to start it from the middle and then go to your point guards. And there hasn't been any club that's ever won championships with a two-guard as a dominant player until Michael came along.
Hey, Phil, what is if you had to think back, the defining moment, either public or private, with Michael Jordan?
Well, I think it was when, I first told him what I was going to run as an offense. He came in and I said, we're going to run a system. You had a system in North Carolina. It's non-motion like you had there. It's more of of an overload system. It's a triangle. He said, you mean that equal opportunity system that, Tex kind of espouses, Tex Winter I was referring to? And I said, yeah. I said, I think that more guys have to be involved with the basketball. He said, what if Bill Cartwright ends up with the basketball and the clock's running down on the 24-second clock? And I said, well, we're going to have to teach him the fundamentals of how to get the ball to you so that you could score at the end of that 24-second clock. Yeah. And he laughed about it, and we went on and won.
Yeah, and it worked out very well. You know what's interesting, though, Coach? 3 years since you've won the Coach of the Year award, and last year you didn't get a single vote for Coach of the Year. Deep down inside, does that bother you?
Not at all. The Coach of the Year is really who wins the playoffs. I mean, that's, guys working 9 months instead of 6 months. It's that extra 2 months that you have to put in there to win that championship that makes a difference in your coaching career, and it gives you established, credibility. But there are a lot of guys that have to put in so much effort in the course of a year to get their team to win that sometimes they deserve awards like Coach of the Year. The year that we won 67 here in L.A., Doc Rivers won Coach of the Year and had a 500 team. He deserved that because as much work as it took for that team to win those games, 41 basketball games, was probably more than I had to put into this coaching of this team to win 67.
But I think you deserved one vote.
Well, yeah, probably one vote. But
can you get
our writers here in L.A., they will never vote for me anyway. We can't even get a local writer to do that.
A lot of love from the local writers. Yeah. Coach Jackson, thanks for taking so much time to talk with us on this special night for Michael, one of the great basketball minds in the NBA. Phil Jackson, you will see his Lakers tonight as they take on the Nets, a rematch of that game from earlier in the year.